All right, before we jump into today's World Cup matches, I want everybody watching this to think about what we've already seen in this tournament. Because honestly, this World Cup has become chaos. Brazil couldn't beat Morocco. Belgium dropped points against Egypt. Portugal failed against Congo. Saudi Arabia held Uruguay. And even Spain couldn't break down Cabo Verde. So if you're still looking at these matches thinking the bigger team automatically wins, you probably haven't been watching what's happening. This tournament has officially become one of the most unpredictable World Cups we've seen in years. And after studying every match played so far, here's exactly how I see today going. First, France against Iraq. Now let's be honest here. France looked exactly like the team everybody expected when they beat Senegal 3-1. The attack looked sharp, the midfield controlled the game, and overall they looked like serious contenders. But here's where things get interesting. We've already watched top teams struggle against defensive underdogs. Portugal should have beaten Congo. They didn't. Belgium should have beaten Egypt. They didn't. And Spain completely failed to score. So suddenly, these smaller nations are becoming very dangerous. Now, Iraq had a terrible result against Norway. They lost 4-1. But sometimes after heavy defeats, teams become much more defensive in the next game. And I think Iraq will park very deep here. France has too much quality. I still expect total control, but I don't think this becomes a goal explosion. My feeling, France wins comfortably, probably 2-0, maybe 3-0. Now, this might quietly be the best game today. Norway looked fantastic against Iraq. They scored 4 goals. Haaland looked dangerous. The attack had speed, and confidence looked very high. But I think people are seriously underestimating Senegal. Yes, France beat them, but physically, they actually competed for large parts of that match. And one thing we've learned so far, teams with strong physical defensive structure are frustrating bigger nations. That's happening again and again in this tournament. So Norway comes in with momentum, but Senegal comes in dangerous. If Norway scores early, I think they control the match. But if Senegal survives the opening 20 minutes, this can easily become another World Cup draw. I slightly lean Norway, but I trust this game the least. Next up, Jordan against Algeria. Now Algeria disappointed me badly. Against Argentina, they never really looked competitive. Argentina controlled everything, 3-0, and honestly, that result exposed some defensive weakness. But Jordan also lost against Austria, so both teams are entering this game needing a response, and pressure changes football. That's especially true in tournaments. Now, individually, Algeria clearly has better players, better technical quality, more attacking talent, but after watching all these World Cup surprises, I'm not fully trusting favourites anymore. I think Algeria has the advantage, but I expect a very close game. My prediction, low-scoring match, Algeria edges it. Now, this is the match I'm watching most carefully. Portugal versus Uzbekistan, and I know what most people think. Easy Portugal win, but that's exactly what people thought against Congo. And Portugal failed, that changed everything. Because before that result, Portugal looked like one of the safest teams in the tournament, but now confidence drops. Uzbekistan has quietly looked very disciplined. They defend compact. They stay organized, and defensive teams have caused huge problems all tournament. We've seen it repeatedly. So yes, Portugal still has better quality, better midfield, better individual players, but I no longer trust this as an automatic win. If Portugal scores early, they probably win comfortably. But if this stays scoreless for too long, I can absolutely see another shock result. So after analyzing everything we've seen so far, here are my final calls. France should beat Iraq. Norway has slight advantage over Senegal. Algeria should edge Jordan. And Portugal remains favourite. But Portugal versus Uzbekistan, that is my biggest upset warning. And remember, this World Cup has already proven one thing. Big teams are no longer safe.